What, are you supposed to be a cop or something? Nah, you don't look the type.
Maybe.
Welcome to MojoPlays. Today we're looking at the hidden Resident Evil secrets it took fans years to find. With so many games in the series, there are plenty of clever hidden details.
Sorry I couldn't get in touch sooner, but I was a bit tied up.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Cut characters, Resident Evil.
Wow!
Ha! It seems like this bulletproof jacket is pretty strong.
I see.
One of the many changes the original Resident Evil went through during pre-development was the characters themselves. While Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine have since become video game icons, there were some additional characters who were removed from the game.
What do you mean? Since when have you been an Umbrella agent?
Two unused characters were Dewey and Gelza. Dewey was meant to serve as comic relief, while Gelza was a leftover from an earlier version of the story, where the main characters were futuristic cyborgs. Hence him being at least twice the size of Chris.
Chris? Stop it.
Ultimately though, they didn't make the final cut, with Barry taking over as an additional main character.
I just had something I wanted to check. Now, let's get back to searching for the lost captain and Chris, shall we?
Japanese voice acting, Resident Evil. For fans who want to go digging to find new aspects of their favorite games, Resident Evil, the original, is a goldmine. It was 3 years after the original release when the director's cut came out with an entirely new score. The score was released as an album called Biohazard Symphony OP91 Crime and Punishment, and the second disc contained sound effects and the Japanese voice lines that never made it into any finished version of the game. This is because the Japanese version of the game was originally meant to have voice acting in its native tongue, but director Shinji Mikami felt the acting was subpar, so the Japanese lines were never used. Sadly, he didn't know the English voice acting was much better.
Jill, see if you can find any other clues. I'll be examining this. Hope this is not Chris's blood.
Shoot the camera, Resident Evil 2. Thanks to fixed camera angles and tank controls, in the early game you are only given a handful of directions you can shoot in. But if you're paying close attention, there are two moments in Resident Evil 2 where Leon can shoot directly into the screen. The screen has a shadow animation and bullet holes to boot. It's a neat touch that makes you appreciate the attention to detail put into the series.
We're leaving this place together. Wait here for me. I'll be right back.
Leon's jacket, Resident Evil 4.
Freeze! I said freeze!
Being riddled with zombies, Resident Evil is no stranger to death, but one loss cut deeper than them all. When Leon made his grand return in Resident Evil 4, one thing that was featured in all of the trailers, marketing, and even the menu screen was his shiny nice leather jacket, and damn is that a nice jacket. But his time as a style icon was short-lived.
Hey, wake up.
He gets into a fight with Mendez early on and gets knocked out. When he comes to, his jacket is nowhere to be seen, and will be gone for the rest of the game. But if you put up the separate Wes campaign as Ada, which came with the PS2 version a year later, you can find a villager sporting Leon's jacket. Prototype version, Resident Evil. By all accounts, the development cycle of the first game was arduous, to say the least. Numerous versions are known about today, including this strange prototype build dating back to 1995. These early versions were different from the finished product in a number of ways, and were put online by a fan in 2010. Some of the more minor differences are changes to the camera angles that will look more like the angles as seen in the game's remakes in 2002, as well as adding the ability to change weapons in real time. but they also revealed that at one point the game had a co-op mode, another feature that would reappear in later installments. The Ghost Image, Resident Evil 4. After Mike's chopper is shot down, if you zoom in on a distant building using the rifle scope, you can see that there is a mysterious image. We're used to seeing all manner of bioweapons, but this picture seems to be of a completely normal, ordinary person. In fact, most theories suggest that this is actually one of the game's developers, who's been immortalized forevermore, in a weird 2D texture that you were never supposed to see. The texture is never used anywhere throughout the game, and nobody has ever come out to identify the hidden figure, even the supposed developers themselves. Demon Coins, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. The early games in the series are famous for their puzzles, often making you wonder who had the time to come up with these elaborate mazes to unlock the door in a police station. But it seems that Capcom didn't have time to develop all the puzzles, because there are some unused coins to discover within the files of Resident Evil 3.
Are you sure about that?
Positive. I heard it straight from a supervisor.
Said to depict some kind of demon, they are red, blue, and gold in color, and were presumably used to unlock or discover something hidden. What this was? We'll probably never know, unless they found their way into the 2020 remake.
Based on that fact, Raccoon City has been literally wiped off the map.
Fixed camera angles, Resident Evil 5. Though many praised the switch from rigid fixed camera angles to more dynamic over-the-shoulder gameplay when it happened in Resident Evil 4, the franchise's switch to action has been regarded by some as a misstep. That's one reason why the hardcore horror remakes have been so popular. But in a classic throwback, for Resident Evil 5's Lost in Nightmares DLC, Capcom included an Easter egg where fixed camera angles make a triumphant return.
Kinda takes you back, doesn't it?
To Raccoon City? Unfortunately, yeah. That's where all this started.
If you interact with the main door 3 times until a question mark prompt appears, gracing you with plenty of eerie angles as you explore the mansion once again.
Jill!
Okay.
It was meant to be an FPS, Resident Evil. Iconic as the fixed camera angles and the third-person gameplay both are, neither is the way it was originally meant to be. More early prototypes of the game and concept art have been leaked that showed an ambitious build, but unfortunately the hardware of the PS1 was already too limited to bring this to fruition. It took Capcom another, let's say, 20 years to finally realize this vision with the release of Resident Evil 7. No, Resident Evil Survivor doesn't count, let's forget that happened. Despite some people not being on board with the change initially, Resident Evil 7 proved itself to be one of the scariest entries yet, thanks in no small part to the POV change. Game Boy Color Remake, Resident Evil. Capcom absolutely loves porting their games in as many ways as possible, and the original Resident Evil is no exception. It's seen numerous remakes and remasters across many different platforms, and one version appeared on the Nintendo DS. But once upon a time there was a port of the Game Boy Color on the horizon, which was intended to be as faithful as possible. Unfortunately, the game ended up being scrapped. But then in 2012, some cartridges with early builds loaded onto them were discovered and put online. Remarkably, the game was nearly completed when it was thrown out, and despite having some unwieldy controls, it's more or less playable.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.